Welcome the rare gems. What happens when someone who almost never speaks finally decides to open their mouth? If you have ever known a Sigma female, you know she can sit in silence for hours, not because she has nothing to say, but because she is carefully deciding whether it is even worth saying. Her silence is not empty. It is a workshop where her thoughts are built, tested, and sharpened until they are too solid to be ignored. When a Sigma female breaks her silence, it is never casual. You will not get small talk about the weather or some random gossip about who wore what. No, you get something that lands so directly that people suddenly sit straighter. And let's be honest, sometimes her words sting, but they sting in the way antiseptic does when poured on a wound. It burns for a moment, but it heals afterward. The funniest part is, people often think she has been clueless all along, only to realize she has been watching everything, storing every detail, and waiting for the exact moment to speak. By the time she does, her words hit like a well-aimed dart at the center of the board. So if you are someone who struggles with being quiet, let this encourage you. Silence is not weakness. It is preparation, and when the time is right, your words will not just fill the air, they will command it. Let's dive into it. The rare gems. Number 1. People who once assumed her quietness was weakness suddenly realize it was her way of gathering power. People often get silence wrong. They look at a quiet woman, especially a Sigma female, and think she is weak or uncertain. They assume her lack of constant chatter means she is lost in the background. But what they fail to understand is that her silence is not weakness. It is power in the making. She is not sitting quietly because she has nothing to say. She is sitting quietly because she is collecting, observing, and sharpening her thoughts until they are too precise to be ignored. Think about it in everyday life. Imagine being in a group where everyone is arguing at once. Voices get louder, opinions clash, and chaos fills the air. Most people jump in to prove a point, often without even thinking it through. The Sigma female does not. She watches, listens, and notices the cracks no one else sees. And when she finally decides to speak, her words cut through the noise like a knife through butter. Everyone stops because what she says is not another layer of confusion. It is clarity. It is like in school when the quiet student rarely raised her hand. People thought she was not paying attention until test day came and she scored higher than everyone else. That is the Sigma female's silence at work. While others are busy showing off, she is quietly mastering her ground. This is why people who underestimated her eventually get surprised. Her silence was never a weakness. It was a gathering of strength, a storing of insight, and when the time comes, she reveals it with impact. And that moment changes how people see her forever. Number 2. When she speaks, it is not for attention. Most people talk to be noticed. They want to fill the air with their voice, to remind everyone they are present. A Sigma female is different. She does not waste her words on random chatter. When she decides to speak, it is not to grab the spotlight. It is to bring clarity where things have been bent out of shape. Think about a time when gossip spread in your workplace or community. Stories twist, exaggerations fly, and before long, no one knows what is true anymore. Everyone is talking, but no one is actually making sense. That is when the Sigma female steps in. She does not speak loudly, but her words are direct. She cuts out the noise and says what others are avoiding. In that moment, people realize she is not adding to the mess. She is correcting it. It is like watching someone fix a crooked picture frame on the wall. Everyone notices it is off, but ignores it. Then she walks up, straightens it, and suddenly the whole room feels better. That is what her voice does. It restores balance. Her intention is never to embarrass or to dominate. She simply refuses to let lies, confusion, or manipulation remain unchallenged. Some people might get uncomfortable because her words expose what they tried to hide, but even then they cannot deny the truth she lays out. In everyday life, this might look like her correcting misinformation in a family argument, or calmly pointing out the missing piece in a heated debate at work. While others argue in circles, she offers one clear sentence that resolves the tension. Her silence makes her timing powerful, and her timing makes her words unforgettable. She speaks not to be heard, but to set things straight. And once she does, there is no going back to how things were before. Number 3. Her voice cuts through noise because it was not part of the noise to begin with. Most people speak to be included in the noise. They throw in their opinions, repeat what others say, or talk just to avoid silence. A Sigma female does not play that game. Her voice carries a different weight because it is not born from the same chaos that surrounds her. When she finally speaks, it feels like a sudden pause in a storm. The noise may continue, but her words stand out with clarity. Picture a family dinner where everyone is talking at once. Some are debating politics, others are arguing about money, and a few are trying to outshout the rest. It is a mess. Then she decides to speak. She does not raise her voice or try to compete with the chatter. She simply makes a clear point. Suddenly, forks stop moving, heads turn, and people realize her words are the only ones worth processing. That is because her voice was never part of the mess. It came from stillness, from focus, from an inner place that values meaning over noise. In everyday life, it can be as simple as a group of friends complaining about work. Everyone throws in complaints, half-baked solutions, or jokes that go nowhere. She stays quiet until the right moment, then offers a perspective that no one considered. It silences the group not out of shock, but out of respect. People recognize that she saw what they missed. Her words feel like a spotlight in a dark room. They illuminate the core issue without needing decoration. She does not need volume to make an impact. What gives her voice its power is the fact that she does not waste it. That is why her presence in any discussion feels different. Her silence separates her from the noise, and when she finally speaks, her words echo long after the noise fades away. Number 4. Those who try to interpret her silence are confronted with her real meaning, and it is rarely what they expected. People often think silence is an empty space they can fill with their own assumptions. When a Sigma female chooses quiet, others rush to interpret it. Some think she is shy. Others assume she is hiding something. A few even believe she is uninterested or disconnected. But when she finally speaks, the truth of her silence confronts them, and it rarely matches what they imagined. Take a workplace meeting as an example. Everyone is presenting ideas, throwing in suggestions, and waiting for someone to nod in agreement. She sits quietly, observing. Colleagues may whisper to themselves that she has nothing to add, or that she is confused by the discussion. Then, after everyone has had their turn, she speaks. Her words are not long, but they address the problem directly, and expose what everyone else overlooked. Suddenly, the room understands that her silence was not ignorance. It was focus. In everyday life, this could look like her staying quiet while friends debate over a personal issue. They think she is detached, only for her to eventually lay out the situation in a way that makes everyone rethink their stance. The very people who assumed she had no opinion now realize she had been studying the issue more deeply than all of them combined. What makes this so powerful is the way her real meaning shatters false narratives. People project their ideas onto her silence because they cannot read it, but her eventual words force them to see her on her own terms, not through their guesses. It teaches an important lesson. Silence is not always a void to be explained by others. Sometimes it is a choice, and when the person behind it finally decides to speak, their truth changes the entire story. Number 5. People realize her quiet was not compliance. Silence is often mistaken for agreement. When someone stays quiet, people assume they are going along with whatever is happening. With a Sigma female, that assumption is a mistake. Her quietness is not a sign that she has surrendered or accepted things as they are. It is a deliberate choice. She stays silent because she is watching, measuring, and deciding whether her voice will make an impact. And when she finally does decide to speak, it signals that something is about to shift. Think about a family argument where voices are raised and sides are already being taken. She does not rush to defend herself or to pick a side just to avoid tension. Instead, she lets the others argue it out while she studies the heart of the matter. Everyone thinks her silence means she agrees with the loudest voice in the room. Then she speaks, calmly but firmly, and everything changes. The argument pauses. The direction of the conversation bends. People realize she was never agreeing. She was waiting for the right moment to deliver something decisive. In a workplace, this might look like her sitting through meeting after meeting while others debate and overcomplicate an issue. She says nothing until the discussion hits a wall. Then she gives one clear solution that makes everyone rethink the last hour of noise. Her silence was not compliance. It was her gathering patience to strike with precision. This is why her words carry a different weight. They are not routine or predictable. They are signals of transformation. Once she decides to speak, it is no longer business as usual. Something is about to change and everyone knows it. Number 6. Silence breaking for her is not a return to noise. Silence is not just the absence of words. For a Sigma female, silence is a stage where she gathers strength, clarity, and perspective. Many confuse it with passivity, as if she has stepped away from the conversation or the situation. But when her silence finally breaks, it is not a casual return to ordinary talk. It is a revelation. And revelations are not something you can simply brush aside. Think about when you are watching a mystery movie. For most of the film, you see fragments, clues, and scattered pieces of the puzzle. Then comes that moment when everything is revealed, and suddenly all the earlier scenes make sense. That is what happens when she speaks after silence. She reveals the part everyone else missed, and it changes the entire picture. In everyday life, this could be a heated debate at work where people throw around numbers, theories, and endless opinions. She says nothing while the noise builds. Then she drops a single insight that not only clears the confusion, but also exposes the blind spot no one noticed. It is not just another contribution. It is the missing piece that ties the discussion together. Her words carry that weight because they are not born from a need to fill space. They come from reflection, from careful thought, from watching everything before deciding what must be said. And when she does speak, her words hit with the force of truth. That is why people cannot ignore her. They might resist, they might argue, but deep down they know a revelation has landed. Once spoken, it lingers. It shapes the way people see the situation moving forward, and there is no going back to the old noise. Number 7. She is not afraid to expose truths that others dress in layers of excuses. Most people are quick to cover the truth when it feels uncomfortable. They stack excuses on top of it, wrap it in justifications, and hope no one looks too closely. A Sigma female does the opposite. Her silence is not a shield to hide behind. It is the patience she uses to study what others are trying to disguise. And when she finally speaks, she is not afraid to peel back those layers and show the truth exactly as it is. Picture a workplace where a mistake has been made. Instead of owning up, people point fingers, sugarcoat the problem, and build stories to protect themselves. Everyone adds another layer until it looks like no one can be held accountable. The Sigma female waits. She doesn't rush in with accusations. She observes quietly, noting the contradictions. Then, when the moment is right, she speaks with precision. Her words slice through the excuses and reveal the simple truth. Suddenly, the room feels lighter because the weight of pretense has been removed. It is the same in personal life. Imagine a friend who keeps explaining away bad behavior in a partner. Excuses pile up. They were tired, they were stressed, they did not mean it. The Sigma female listens without judgment, but she hears what others miss. When she finally chooses to speak, she does not add another excuse. She says the one thing that cannot be ignored. You are excusing behavior that keeps hurting you. It stings, but it is also liberating. Her silence is what makes this possible. It gives her the patience to see patterns others overlook and the courage to speak the truth when it matters most. While others hide behind excuses, she uncovers what is real, and once spoken, it cannot be unseen. Number 8. Her voice carries finality. There is a difference between speaking to add to a discussion and speaking to bring it to a close. Many people talk just to keep the conversation alive, going in circles with no real resolution. A Sigma female is not wired that way. Her silence means she has been weighing the situation, testing the arguments in her mind, and waiting until she can cut through the fog. When she finally speaks, her voice carries a sense of finality. She is not there to spark another round of debate. She is there to end the confusion. Imagine a team meeting where everyone is stuck on the same problem. Suggestions are thrown around, people argue over tiny details, and the discussion starts to feel endless. She sits quietly, listening to all sides until she has mapped out the real issue. Then she gives one clear statement that simplifies everything. The debate stops because her words are not just another opinion. They are the conclusion everyone was struggling to reach. The same thing happens in personal relationships. Picture a family disagreement where relatives keep rehashing the same points. Tempers flare, old grudges surface, and nothing gets resolved. She chooses her silence carefully, not to avoid the tension but to let the noise burn itself out. When she finally speaks, it is calm, direct, and final. The endless back and forth dissolves because her words make it clear where things stand. Her strength is not in overpowering others with volume, but in bringing certainty to uncertainty. When she decides to speak, people can feel that the conversation has reached its turning point. The guessing ends, the back and forth fades, and the truth takes its place. That is why her silence carries such weight. People know that when she finally breaks it, the moment is not the start of another storm. It is the end of the confusion. Number 9. She is not emotional in her delivery. Most people think impact comes from raising your voice or showing strong emotions. They believe the louder you are, the more power your words carry. A Sigma female proves the opposite. When she speaks, her delivery is steady and calm. She does not shout, she does not wave her hands, she does not drown her words in emotion. And that calmness is exactly what makes her words hit harder. Think of a courtroom scene in a movie. The lawyers argue with passion, their voices rising as they try to win the jury. Then the quiet witness takes the stand and speaks in a measured tone. No drama, no theatrics, just calm truth. Suddenly the entire room feels the shift. People lean in because calm words often carry more power than all the shouting. That is the energy of a Sigma female. In everyday life, picture a heated family argument where tempers are flaring. Everyone is talking over each other, emotions spilling everywhere. She waits. And when she finally speaks, her voice is calm, almost quiet, but it silences the room. The contrast between her steadiness and everyone else's chaos makes people pay attention. Her calmness forces them to process her words instead of reacting to her tone. This is why she is taken seriously. She does not let anger cloud her message. She does not let tears dilute her strength. Her calmness acts like a magnifier, making the meaning of her words impossible to ignore. People expect strong emotions to carry power, but with her, the opposite is true. The very lack of drama gives her words their sharp edge. She does not need to raise her voice to make it heavy. Her calmness does that for her. Number 10. Those who underestimated her discover that silence was her shield. Many underestimate silence because they confuse it with weakness. They think a quiet woman has nothing to say, nothing to fight with, and nothing to protect herself. But for a Sigma female, silence is not emptiness. It is her shield. It gives her space to observe, to understand, and to prepare without exposing herself too soon. And when she decides to drop that shield, people discover she is far from defenseless. She may stand unguarded, but she remains unshaken. Picture a workplace where she listens more than she speaks. Colleagues may assume she is out of her depth or too timid to contribute. They take her quietness as surrender. Then, one day, she speaks with precision, pointing out flaws in a project no one else dared to mention. Her shield of silence falls away, and people realize she was never uninformed. She was gathering her strength until the right moment to strike. Or think about friendships where she listens to endless stories but shares little of her own. Some friends assume she is fragile or too cautious. When the truth finally comes out, when she chooses to reveal her perspective, it is clear she was not fragile at all. She was simply guarding herself until she felt ready. And when she does speak, there is no hesitation in her words. The beauty of her silence is that it protects her from reckless exposure. The power of her voice is that it shows she never needed the shield to begin with. She stands unguarded, not because she has nothing to lose, but because she has built enough inner strength that no one can easily shake her. Those who underestimated her end up learning a hard truth. Her silence was never weakness. It was strategy. And when she drops it, she proves that her strength has always been there. waiting. Number 11. She is not afraid to expose truths that others dress in layers of excuses. Most people are quick to protect themselves when they make mistakes. Instead of owning the truth, they wrap it in excuses. They say they were tired, they were stressed, or that circumstances forced their hand. Over time, those excuses pile up until the truth is buried beneath layers of justifications. A Sigma female has no interest in those layers. Her silence gives her the patience to peel them back, and when she finally speaks, she is not afraid to expose the truth underneath. Imagine a workplace where a project fails. Everyone scrambles to defend themselves. One person blames poor communication, another blames the deadline, and someone else blames the client. The excuses multiply until it seems impossible to see what really went wrong. The Sigma female watches quietly. She does not rush in with accusations or join the chorus of blame. She waits, observing patterns and contradictions. Then, when the time is right, she speaks. With calm precision, she names the real issue. Maybe it was poor planning from the start. Maybe it was a lack of accountability. Whatever it is, she lays it bare, and no one can argue because her truth pierces through the excuses. The same thing happens in personal life. Picture a friend constantly excusing a partner's disrespectful behavior. Each time it happens, another excuse is added to the pile. A Sigma female listens without judgment, but she also sees through the cover. One day she quietly says, "You keep justifying behavior that hurts you." That one statement slices through years of excuses, and suddenly the truth cannot be ignored. Her silence is what makes this possible. It allows her to step back, to see clearly, and to build the courage to speak when it matters most. While others stay tangled in excuses, she reveals the truth in its raw form. And once she exposes it, there is no covering it up again. Number 12. When she speaks, she often dismantles the false images people tried to build around her. People love to create stories about others, especially about someone who stays quiet. When a Sigma female chooses silence, those around her often rush to fill the gap with their own assumptions. Some paint her as weak, others label her as arrogant, and a few even decide she is indifferent. These false images grow because people are uncomfortable with what they cannot easily read. But the moment she speaks, those images begin to collapse. Think about a workplace where colleagues mistake her quiet nature for lack of confidence. They assume she is simply tagging along, contributing little of value. Then one day she speaks during a crucial discussion. Her words are sharp, her ideas are clear, and she presents solutions no one else thought of. Instantly, the picture people painted of her dissolves. The so-called timid woman is revealed as the one holding the sharpest insight in the room, or consider social circles. People may think she is distant, uninterested, or too serious because she does not waste time on shallow chatter. Then in a single conversation she shares her perspective with wit, depth, and a level of understanding that leaves everyone surprised. The image they built cannot survive the reality she reveals. This dismantling effect is powerful because it reminds people how fragile assumptions are. She does not go out of her way to correct them with explanations or defenses. She simply speaks her truth, and that truth is enough to shatter the illusions others carefully built. When she breaks her silence, people are left facing her real self, not the version they created in their minds. And once they see her clearly, they cannot go back to their old assumptions. Her voice replaces their false images with undeniable reality. In final words, what do you think happens when someone who rarely speaks finally decides it is time to let their voice be heard? With a Sigma female, it is never random. Her silence is not emptiness, it is her way of saving her energy for the moments that matter. And when she does break it, the effect is unforgettable. She does not speak to make noise, she speaks to make meaning. Her words straighten what others have twisted, they cut through excuses, and they expose truths that people tried to bury. Some might be surprised, some might even be uncomfortable, but no one walks away unchanged. That is the power of a voice that has been sharpened by silence. It is not constant, but it is consistent. It does not echo everywhere, but when it lands, it leaves a mark. If you are someone who has ever been misunderstood for being quiet, Take this as encouragement. Your silence is not weakness, and it is not compliance. It is preparation. Think of it like charging a phone. It stays still, but the energy is building, and when you unplug, you are ready to run with full strength. That is what the Sigma female shows us. So the next time you feel pressure to speak, just to be part of the chatter, remember this. It is not the loudest voice that changes things. It is the one that arrives with clarity. Silence, when used wisely, can be your greatest tool. And when you decide the moment is right, your words will not just join the conversation, they will transform it. Thank you for watching the Rare Gems, and God bless you.